What has been your worst experience at a wedding? Part 2. My sister-in-law got married in Wyoming. It's a bit alternative. Her brother and I lived in New York. Hotel block. She's getting married the same weekend as the University of Wyoming graduation, and there's no hotel room block. The wedding and the university are in the same city. We were forced to stay 45 to 60 minutes away. Rehearsal dinner. It's taking place in a cabin in the state forest. The groom's mom is cooking green chili for dinner. He's from Arizona/NM. I'm not the pickiest eater, but I don't like that, and there's nothing else to eat. Not even chips and salsa. We had to drive an hour back and find a drive-thru. Wedding day. We were told it would be outdoors in May. I thought the temperature would be around 50 degrees. No, in the mountains, it was around 35 degrees. I basically froze. There's almost a 2-hour gap between the ceremony and the reception. It's not Catholic, so we had to drive an hour to the reception city, and, since it was lunchtime, we stopped at Denny's to eat. I think my mother-in-law ordered a Grand Slam. We arrive at the reception at a church under renovation. There were no toilets or sinks in the bathrooms. His mom was overweight, and I had to hold her arm to keep her balanced/alert while she peed. Then we had to go to the kitchen, where the groom's mom was cooking dinner, and use the prep sink to wash our hands. Their cake was decorated like mountains because they love nature. There were real rocks on the cake as decoration. I almost broke a tooth. It was also a BYOB wedding, but nobody told us to bring anything, so I was forced to drink lavender lemonade. It was gross. That was the worst wedding I've ever experienced.
Close friend's wedding. I flew internationally to attend. I got my nails, hair, and makeup done. I bought a $500 dress. I went through the ceremony. Immediately after, I went to the bathroom and was uncontrollably vomiting and defecating. It was everywhere. I had to ask for help from the staff. They ended up closing the bathroom because vomit was all over the walls. I had to leave the party covered in my own mess. My husband was the best man for his brother. He didn't really like his brother's fiancée, but he wanted to do right by him. He woke up the day before the wedding feeling a bit off, but he ignored it thinking he had just returned from a business trip and was tired. He went to the rehearsal dinner and felt incredibly dizzy, attributing it to the food not sitting well. Mom said he looked pale. He went back home, the wedding was local, and proceeded to vomit several times and crawled back into bed, praying he could make it through the next day. He managed to get about 4 hours of sleep, woke up, and still felt like death warmed over. He ate nothing for fear of vomiting it back up. He managed to get in the shower, clean up, and put on his tux. He made it to the church and put all his energy into staying at that altar, not fainting or vomiting. He made it. There was a small break between the ceremony and the reception. He went home and took a quick nap. He woke up, felt a bit better but not great. He went to the reception, thinking he'd go through the entrance/first dance, sit down to dinner, give his toast, and leave. He got there and still felt bad, but not as much. Then they served the food, and he had to do everything he could not to vomit because the smell of the food was enough to make him feel dizzy. But he endured the meal. Then the toast. He made it through, took a sip of champagne that he had to force down, hugged his brother and new sister-in-law, and got out of there. He got home around 8 p.m. and slept until noon the next day. He actually felt almost 100% the next day. Must have been some 24-hour bug with the worst possible timing. This happened to my best friend at her own wedding. The poor thing was sick as a dog, vomiting in the vestibule just before walking down the aisle for her full Catholic Mass ceremony. All of us bridesmaids were sitting in the front row holding hands tightly, hoping she wouldn't vomit or faint during the 45 minutes of standing up, sitting down, standing up, kneeling, sitting down, etc. Being the warrior she is, she powered through and managed to recover for a very fun reception. This experience happened to me at a destination wedding in Reno. We all arrived and were told that the bride's entire family had a stomach flu virus. She was vomiting all day before the wedding and during the wedding, as was half of the wedding party. My husband and I were also part of the wedding party, arriving the day before. We spent the night sightseeing. The next day, enjoyed our vacation with our 2-year-old son. That night, our son got sick. We had to stay another night and ask for extra towels and blankets. It was terrible. I got sick 2 days later and ended up in the ER with dehydration. It was hell.
My cousin received a dick pic from her father, my uncle, on her brother's wedding night. Drunk, he was sexting some woman he met online and accidentally sent it to her. My daughter's wedding. No one showed up to the bachelorette party the night before. The groom had the flu on the wedding day and was vomiting all over the bathroom. A bridesmaid had a seizure during the actual ceremony. The groom's ex showed up and ruined the first dance. And someone forgot to invite the groom's biological mother to the ceremony and she missed it. Complete disaster. Edited to add something else I forgot. The groom didn't book any place to stay for the wedding night. When we realized that, by the afternoon of the wedding, he opted to sleep in his mom's basement. No joke. I found them a hotel room. When I was a kid at a wedding in San Clemente, California, it was on the coast, and there was a retaining wall or something behind the stage area. I fell over the wall, and the whole audience gasped thinking I had fallen off the cliffs. Actually, there was like 3 to 4 feet of flat ground on the other side, and I was fine. My uncle got so drunk at my sister's wedding that he confessed to having an affair and completely ruined the family. I was supposed to be the best man at my friend's wedding. It was going to be a small wedding at his church with lunch afterward. At 7:30 on the morning of the wedding, the groom called me and said the wedding was off, and said he'd call and explain later. He didn't call the next day, or the next, or the next. After that, he just disappeared off the face of the earth, and I never saw him again. The bride didn't want to talk about it. I called his dad, and he said the groom had left town to go to boot camp. It was a very strange situation. It was in the courtyard of a post office. The groom was wearing a red sweatshirt material short suit. It was the bride's 5th wedding and the groom's 3rd. They're divorced now. The groom's grandfather had a heart attack on the dance floor and died. We all left. It was a heartbreaking, hysterical moment. The groom's family was very close-knit, so losing a grandparent, father, uncle, etc., hit them all pretty hard. We had a gathering a few months later, but it was pretty somber. Looking back, everyone laughs a bit because he was always the life of the party, the center of attention. So when he left, he had to go out big, ha. Oh man, that's so traumatic. I know someone whose dad collapsed and died of a heart attack during his father of the bride's speech in front of 350 people. I know another couple where the groom's father died in his sleep on the first night of the bachelor party in Prague.
My father's speech, which he was asked not to give, included saying I, the bride, and my sisters had always been a disappointment. You could hear a pin drop. It was devastating. I actually left my own wedding, went home and watched TV trying to compose myself, then put on a smile and went back. It depressed me for months.
Wow, why did they even invite him?
Very good question. We hadn't really been in touch for maybe 4 years, but he raised us and there wasn't really any animosity. He can be socially awkward and prone to saying very direct things, but this was really unexpected. He later said he shouldn't have come and didn't want to come, and that hurt a lot too. To contextualize, he met a woman when we, my sisters and I, were teenagers and fell for her big time and she didn't like us. We were happy he had someone since he was a bit of a recluse, but she really created a big rift. I found out this isn't that unusual. Men leave their families for a new woman and disdain their whole family quite often. But true. This happened in October 2016. At that time, my partner didn't check the wedding invitation that had the location and just trusted me to check it. I checked it and thought it was a hotel because it said to go to the hotel that had a shuttle service to the ceremony. Turns out the reception, we were invited, not the ceremony, was at the same place as the ceremony and not at the hotel. My partner got mad at me, said he would never marry me, that I'm illiterate, etc. Again, he never looked at the invitation with the directions. We get there, and he just spends the time flirting with another woman, ignoring me the whole time, not talking to me, and we didn't even dance. We leave, he yells at me more in the car, makes me sleep on the couch. Unfortunately, we stayed together for 6 more months. I went to the psychiatric ward 2 months after the wedding for a suicide attempt because I felt so useless, defeated, and didn't believe I should be alive. He refused to visit me, but the end of the relationship was for the best. Now I'm in a much better place.
One of my sister's good friends gave an impromptu toast at her wedding where he told funny stories about adventures he had with different people who had come to the wedding. He's a very good speaker, and everyone was laughing. Soft joke. Then he ended with, I know we're all very grateful to be able to celebrate Laura's marriage together and I hope we can all be there for the next one. It was her 2nd marriage and 2nd wedding. After that, she's had 2 more marriages, so he wasn't wrong. Still pretty bad. Apparently, he and my sister had some sort of friends with benefits agreement whenever they were both single and he wanted to have a serious relationship. So, resentful. They're still friends. I guess with benefits since they're both single right now. And well, friends, that was all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, let me know with a thumbs up so that YouTube can share these stories with more people. Remember to hit the bell icon to be the first to know when we upload a new video. See you next time.